Okay, so what I did is also I connected the sprue to the bottom here. I have the understanding that there will be a hole here, right? Because what I'm gonna do is this is gonna be exposed out of the mold. I'm gonna pour the slip cast into this area. When it's removed, I will cut this whole thing away. So there will be a hole right underneath this at its, I guess its butt area here. What I also did, I took a volume of this guy, estimated, as well as the volume of this sprue. Okay. And then I also drew a line approximately halfway around this whole entire piece. Okay, so we see that. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get him kind of nested in some clay. All right, and I'm gonna try and make sure that this halfway point is really positioned evenly, right? He's not tilted at all. This is now the task of basically building clay up to that halfway point, because what I'm gonna first do is pour the top of the mold. So I'm gonna pour the first as the top, then I'm gonna flip it and pour the second part. So this is the part that takes some time really getting good and prepped. So they're small objects, so I'm gonna really just be using kind of coils to get around this. And it is tricky, but my goal is that this level line here, so halfway up here, it's gonna meet perfectly against it, and that this will have a flat portion. So I'm looking at a flatness, and then I'll pour this top. So we look at what's the distance. I'm gonna want probably, in the press mold that we did, what, about 1 inch on each side? So I'm gonna probably do the same. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but maybe like I'm gonna go from here to here, here, and as well, it'll go around. But it ends right there, sorry, ends right there. So I'm gonna just keep building up some material so you guys can see what I'm doing. Sorry that it's not the most exciting demonstration at this point, but it is what it is. So does this sort of make sense that I'm basically blocking half so I could pour half? This is where, I guess, craftsmanship is gonna come into play. How well you do this is going to say how well your mold fits back together, how clean it fits back together, how tight it fits back together. So all of these things that you're doing will make a difference. And then once I'm done, I don't even think I'm gonna use these coddle boards. I really don't. I think I'm just gonna build up some clay walls instead. We don't have any teeny tiny ones of this. So it'll just be easier just to use clay. All right, so the walls are built up on the piece. You can see the piece is inside. There also are registration marks that are put in just using a back of an eraser to a pencil. Let me raise this up a little. So I used a pencil to put these registration marks, which are going to help the mold lock together. You can see that that surface is flat on the interior. It's covering half of the piece, and I built these walls up so I could be able to pour the plaster in. Okay, so we poured the first part, made sure that we peeled off the walls, peeled off this bottom pad, but kept the sprue and the positive of the piece here. And now I need to build up walls again around this piece so I'm able to pour my next half. I'm gonna wanna make sure that the two parts are in equal thickness. So I'm gonna make sure that, let's say, this is 2 inches, then I'm at least pouring this another 2 inches. So I'm gonna build the same kind of walls around this. And I'm gonna make sure that I apply a good amount of Murphy's oil soap on this plaster before I pour my next piece. And so my plaster doesn't fuse together. And then I'm gonna allow that some time to set up. So my walls are now fully built up. I have another thickness, same amount of thickness to be able to pour on the second half. I have put Murphy's oil soap on top of my plaster inside, and I am ready to pour. So the second half has now been poured and it is set up. So I'm gonna start removing all of the clay barriers. You see my sprue here is still exposed. And now I can remove that positive. And I'll be able to pour my casting slip in here. So I'm gonna take some time to refine this using a Sureform and cleaning it with vinegar and water.